These are ships that will appear during the game and will be able to interact with us in a certain way. There are three types: aggressive, represented by 2 swords, defensive, with a shield, and merchants, with 2 coins. Each model is represented by a figure. Each NPC is associated to a side. In this example, we can observe a Corsair, a Spanish, or a Frenchman. Next with the example. This is the player 1 with the green color. To represent him, we will have to place the piece that indicates his side. The rest of the ships are not controlled by this player. He will simply do the corresponding function. In the case of France, we will take a French die and place it to indicate it. In the case of Spain, we will use a Spanish die and we will use it to indicate it, and in this case it is necessary to notice that the flag is split. A flag that indicates England and pirates is a Corsair. We will take the flag of England and turn it around, indicating that it's a Corsair. To place the NPCs, you will have to look at their side and their row. In this case, French, France, and merchant. Looking at the ship represented on the board, the icons of possible rows that will appear in this box are represented. Following the example of French merchant, we will be placed facing any direction. In the case of pirates, we must have a perception. The aggressive pirate will be placed like the rest of their ships. We look for a pirate tile and we see that there are 2. And we look for a black symbol. There is a little ship, does not have the swords, but in this other it does. This ship will appear here. On the other hand, if the ship is a Corsair, regardless of his nation, it will be placed in a pirate hexagon, remembering that there are 2, but containing the double flag. To facilitate its placement, we added the numbering of each square, so that at the bottom of the ship will show the number of the tile, but its place of appearance will always be the ship in the icon. When a player has finished his actions, it will be the turn of the NPC. In case he's not revealed, we will turn over his card, we will look for if the appearance tile is in play, and we will place the NPC. In the example, he has not yet appeared, so we will place a tile marker indicating in the value 3. Referenced it with the card. If in a later turn it is the SPC's turn again and his place of appearance is still not there, we will rotate this marker. If it reaches 0, the ship will be discarded and we will steal a new one. If the indicated tile appears, we will remove the time marker, place the ship, and if necessary, a cylinder that indicates the route that the NPC will take. This model will only move up to 8 squares to the indicated route: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And its movement is 8, we will lose the remaining point of movement that the ship has. In addition, we will reach the destination, it gets the reward indicated on the card, and we will advance the cylinder in the direction of the arrows. In the later turn, the ship will move to its new destination, which is the tile 10, moving its 8 squares by the shortest route. Because he did not reach his destination, after a while it will be his turn to move again up to 8 squares. By repeating the process, he will earn 1000 doubloons again, move his cylinder forward and pass his turn. Line of sight. A ship sees 360 degrees. That makes tracing a straight line from the center of its hexagon to the center of the target hex allow it to have vision, as long as it's not crossing an island, an animal, monster, or ship blocks the line of sight. We are very small compared to the vast sea. For example, if the French ship can see the pirate ship since the line of sight is not interrupted by anything. If the French ship wants to see player 3, we trace the line of sight and see that it's interrupted by a piece of island, so it has no vision. If the French ship wants to see player 1, we draw that line and we can see that it collides with the island, but in case can generate doubts. To resolve the doubts, we will trace the line of sight and we will look for the two sides of the action that are close to the target. In case most of parts of it is covered, it will not be considered visible. If it were, for example, a straight line open to look at the three sides, if at least two of them are visible, it will be considered visible. Aggressive. An aggressive NPC will follow, like everything else, the order of its actions. In this case, defense, crew, and movement. Where it moves to, for we have to look at the card in war. They are a pirate and an English merchant. As the pirate are at war with everyone, his target will be the English ship. The reason. First, it goes for the visible ships. Because there is no objective, we jump for part 2, the ships that are not in sight. This requirement is met whereupon we set the order of preference. The aggressive will first look for a player. As there is none, his next target is a merchant. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and will always be placed on one of the flanks, provided that is the best advantage position for the NPC. If there is no merchant either, its target will be another aggressive. It will never move towards a defender, it will only defend itself in case of combat. Following the established order, we have fulfilled the first option, so we move on to the second part. If you play in expert mode, this ship boards. As we are in standard mode, skip the action for the next available. In this case, shoot. It will throw as many dice as indicated, 4 plus the bonus of +3 to each dice. One of the dice are rolled, his turn will end. In case a ship was already on target, we simply ignore the movement and move on to the next action. If we are in expert mode, it will board with as many dice as indicated and also shoot since it performs 2 actions. If we are in standard mode, it only shoots. Defensive. Defensive ships behave in the same way as aggressive ships, except that they have different order of preference, following the order of their actions. Defense nothing, crew nothing, movement. We see that there is a Spanish ship, an English ship, and a pirate ship. We look at the card at war. Spain is at war with England, and pirates with everyone, so his target are both of them. We look at the card, choose the target that are inside. As he only sees England, the pirate is discarded. If there were more than one target, we will follow the order of preference, defensive according to the card. We will first a player, another defensive, an aggressive, and finally a merchant. As his only option is the merchant, he will move up to 7 squares in the direction of the merchant, placing himself adjacent in the optimal way to attack it. As he can shoot, his second action is to shoot, launching 10 cannons with a +5. In case the turn starts adjacent to its target, the ship will be able to shoot twice. Another example with the Spanish defensive ship will be as follows. Move towards one of the 2 ships, remembering that you are at war with both of them. First one inside, go to both of them. Second, your preference, a gambler, there is none. A defender, there is none either, but there is an aggressive one, his target being the aggressive pirate. Discarding or performs an action. Case 1. It is the turn of a French NPC. He has to perform 2 actions following the card. His first action will be a movement. As he has no target on the map and no rival player, we will skip this action. Cannons is 2 without target. We skip the action of cannons. Again, we repeat that he has no target and does nothing. This turn, as he doesn't perform any action, a marker is positioned in 3. When it's the NPC's turn to play again, if he has still no options, we simply turn the marker until it reaches 0, discarding. Case 2 is the turn of the French NPC. He will perform the actions in the order, in this case movement. He will move towards an enemy. Since the two players, both orange and green, are facing each other, there are 2 possible targets. Both meet the requirement of being inside, so it will be necessary to look at the distance, in this case, when one is closer. The French NPC will move to place himself adjacent to player 1, finishing his movement action. Then he will perform his second action, which is shoot, rolling as many dice as indicated, and will finish his turn. Case 3 is the turn of the French NPC. In this case, when he goes to make his move, he has 2 targets inside. Looking at the reputation track, we see that he gets along worse with the orange player, being both inside. Both could be his target, but as long as they are within the radius in his move. As both meet both conditions, he will attack the player with the worst reputation, orange player. Case 4. You have 2 targets available, as you are in war with both of them, but only one of them is inside. In this case, is the green player, discarding the orange one as target and going to attack the green player. Case 5. Neither player is inside of the French defender. This makes us skip the part 1, inside, and go part 2. Now both are target, both are within the range, and the orange player gets on war with the French player. But he is in a French port. Being in a French port, he cannot be attacked by an NPC of his own side. This means his only target is green. Case 6 is the turn of the French NPC. In this case, he has to move to one of the 2 players, and these have the same reputation. He will have to look at the score of each one, and will attack the one with the higher score. In case the tie persists, the player who activates it will be in charge of making his decision.